Welcome to another Walter Football video. I'm Charlie Campbell, Senior Draft Analyst. Before we get rolling, I suggest you click into the settings here, speed it up to 1.25 or 1.5. All right, another mock draft. Let's get into it. Getting more information as scouts get more familiar with these players. Also, the draft order is just kind of based on preseason projection, general consensus kind of view, and I've tweaked it some. But coming up here in the next few weeks, after we get through 4 games of the NFL season, really kind of get a quarter of the way into it, then we're going to start having the draft order based on the standings. So, first overall pick, I have the Texans taking Bryce Young, quarterback from Alabama. Get them that future franchise quarterback that they need to replace Deshaun Watson. I think we'll see how Davis Mills plays the rest of this season, but I think there's strong likelihood Texans will be looking quarterback high in the first round. Second overall, I have the Bears taking Will Anderson, edge rusher from Alabama. Chicago needs a replacement for Khalil Mack. Robert Quinn's not a long-term player at this stage of his career, so Will Anderson would be a dream come true for the Bears to recharge that defensive side of the ball. Third overall, I have Washington taking C.J. Stroud, quarterback from Ohio State. Give the commies a quarterback to be their long-term guy. I think Carson Wentz, we've seen what he is. Some of his flashes are impressive, but then he has some really painful down spells throughout games. You could see that against Detroit. Jacksonville here to open the season, saw that with the Colts last year. So I think if Washington's picking high, they have to look for a quarterback upgrade. Fourth overall, I have Seattle taking Will Levis, quarterback from Kentucky. Obviously, Geno Smith isn't the long-term starter there, neither is Drew Lock. Will Levis, big-armed, good skill set, good size, definitely has starting ability for the NFL. Needs to cut down on the interceptions. But Seattle has, some talent, young talent on the offensive line, a receiver in DK Metcalf, so that's not and running back talent as well with Kenneth Walker, so that's not a horrible situation for Levis to walk into. Fifth overall, I have the Falcons taking Jalen Carter, defensive tackle from Georgia. Grady Jarrett looks like he's, slowing down some at this point in his career. They could use a long-term difference maker, go on the inside. Arnold Ebiketie, I think, will turn into a nice edge rusher. So you stack these two together. You can't double team both of them. I think if Atlanta doesn't go quarterback, adding to the D-line would make a lot of sense for the Falcons. Sixth overall, the Jaguars taking Quentin Johnston, wide receiver from TCU. He's big, fast, athletic, hard-working guy. Scouts just love him. And the Jags need a number one receiver. They could also use more cornerback help, but they could use a big outside receiver to go with Christian Kirk, and I think Johnston would be a great fit there for Jacksonville. Seventh overall, I have the Jets taking Antonio Johnson, cornerback slash safety from Texas A&M. He is a dynamite football player, physical, will tackle, really special as a slot corner and as a safety. I think this would be a really nice fit in Robert Saleh's defense. Eighth overall, I have the Dolphins taking Bijan Robinson, running back from Texas. Give them a ground presence that will really supercharge the ground attack there in Miami. Obviously, they're having success through the air with Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle. And this will make life for defenses miserable if you give them a top back, because what do you do with your safeties? Do you double team the receivers? Well, now you have great run fronts for a back like Robinson. If you bring the safeties up, now you're giving these deep threat receivers openings in the deep part of the field. So definitely, I think if Bijan Robinson fell to Miami, that would be really exciting. Ninth overall, I have Minnesota taking Jackson Smith-Njigba, wide receiver from Ohio State. I think as the season goes on, you're going to see teams really they'll tilt coverage to Justin Jefferson. Adam Thielen's aging. The Vikings could use another receiver. That's obvious. But then also with Dalvin Cook in the ground game with the safeties, I can see them really keying on those two players in terms of how you're sending bracket coverage to Jefferson. You have another safety that can come and stack the box against Dalvin Cook. I think the Vikings offense, as the season goes on, it's going to become really apparent that they need another outside receiving threat for that offense. 10th overall, I have the Giants taking Jalen Jones, cornerback from Texas A&M. Really had an impressive game in week 3. His first of the season, had like 10 tackles, broke up a pass, blanket coverage, big physical cornerback. I think the Giants could use a number 1 corner replacement for James Bradbury. Dory Jackson, I wouldn't be surprised if the new regime moves on from him to get cheaper and younger at the corner position. So I think corner could make sense for New York in the first round. 11th overall, I have the Steelers taking Isaiah Foskey, edge rusher from Notre Dame. They could use another edge rusher to go across from TJ Watt and Highsmith. Just give them more pass rush off the edge. I think Foskey could be a good fit for the Steelers. 12th overall, I have the Panthers taking Peter Skoronski, left tackle from Northwestern. Really good football player, has short arms, so some scouts think you got to kick him inside to guard in the NFL. And Carolina needs more help on the offensive line. I think you could put Skoronski inside at guard. Then you got Ike Ekonwu and Taylor Moton, and now you have the makings of a good offensive line. 13th overall, I have the Raiders taking Eli Ricks, cornerback from Alabama. Raiders obviously need more cornerback talent. Ricks, I think, has the skill set and upside to rise through the course of this season. Obviously, still early. Now, 14th overall, I have the Patriots. Sorry, misread my notes here. I have the Patriots taking Myles Murphy, edge rusher from Clemson. I think it would make a lot of sense for the Patriots to grab another edge rusher to go across from Matt Judon. I'm tempted here to just give them like a random mid-round offensive lineman or wide receiver, considering they took N'Keal Harry over Deebo Samuel and A.J. Brown and Terry McLaurin and D.K. Metcalf, and then the pick last year of Cole Strange in the first round. But when they do take defensive players there, they tend to get better value, I think, especially defensive line, thinking back to Chandler Jones, among others there for New England. 15th overall, I have the Titans taking Gervin Dexter Sr., defensive tackle from Florida. Give them another interior guy to go next to Justin Simmons, who's a beast. I think it'll be helpful for him if they have a guy like Dexter. In Tennessee, this wasn't a great spot in terms of needs and talent matching up, but I do think they need more talent and more difference makers to help in that front seven. 16th overall, I have Seattle taking Brian Brise, defensive tackle from Clemson. Give them an interior pass rusher. I think Seattle needs more talent up front on defense. 17th overall, I have Dallas taking Tyree Wilson, edge rusher from Texas Tech. Give them a player to go on the end, replace Randy Gregory, go opposite Micah Parsons, really help them in the long term in terms of double teams that obviously are coming Parsons' way for many years to come. 18th overall, I have the Eagles taking Zach Evans, running back from Ole Miss. This guy is super talented, really huge upside. Scouts are really impressed with him, watching him in practice and in games, obviously, early there in terms of SEC play and seeing what he does against those defenses. But scouts that have been to Ole Miss practice have been raving about him. And the Eagles have Miles Sanders entering free agency. I'm not sure they're really amped to pay him another contract. I think Evans would be a really nice fit in that offense. 19th overall, I have the Lions taking Joey Porter Jr., cornerback from Penn State. Give them a third corner to pair with Amani Aruye and Jeff Okudah. Finally, Jeff Okudah's playing well, but Aruye's hitting free agency. Even if he's re-signed, they need a third one, and Porter would be a really nice fit there in Detroit. 20th overall, I have Houston taking Kayshon Boutte, wide receiver from LSU. They need more receiving help for whoever the new quarterback is going to be. Brandon Cooks has played well, but they need more guys around him, and I think Boutte could be similar to a DJ Moore, is what scouts have told me. Not quite as physical and strong, but that kind of wide receiver in the NFL. 21st overall, I have the Cardinals taking Clark Phillips, cornerback from Utah. Give them more secondary talent, corner talent to go with Byron Murphy. 22nd overall, I have the Eagles taking Jarrett Patterson, center from Notre Dame. Philadelphia always looks to bolster the trenches. Patterson could play guard. You have Cam Jurgens there at center. You could put Patterson at guard. But I think that the Eagles always emphasize offensive line. Patterson's a plug-and-play contributor. Give them some more youth on the inside. 23rd overall, I have the Colts taking Jordan Addison, wide receiver from USC. I think the Colts could use some juice. I think the Colts are going to rally. I think it's too early to press the panic button there for Indianapolis. Keep in mind, a few years ago, Houston started 0-3 and then rattled off 9 wins to win that division, and that division is weak. So I still think the Colts, I think people are writing the obituary too soon on them. But I do think they could use some more explosion on offense with a speed receiver. Give them a guy that they've kind of been missing, that T.Y. Hilton downfield threat. They have a really good young big receiver in Michael Pittman Jr. I think Alec Pierce will be another solid, good, big outside wideout, but I think they could use a guy with more speed and shift and a little juice there in the offense, and I think Addison would be a great fit. 24th overall, I have the Ravens taking Will McDonald, edge rusher from Iowa State. He's been phenomenal rushing the quarterback, has struggled as a run defender, but I think Baltimore really has got to improve that pass defense. They could use a lead edge rusher. If David Ajabo comes along, then maybe and they feel good then about his long-term progress, maybe they don't need to use this pick, but their pass defense has been bad the past year plus. So they really need to improve the talent up front, getting after the quarterback, and on the back end in terms of coverage. So I could see edge rusher, cornerback being top considerations for Baltimore. 25th overall, I have the Lions taking KJ Jefferson, quarterback from Arkansas. He has starting ability, big physical runner, kind of bowling ball as a runner, has the arm to go outside and vertical, pretty accurate, good ball placement. Needs to improve, I think, on seeing the field. I think he really needs a lot of work in terms of reading the defense, working through his progressions. I think that's the big point of improvement for him. But with Detroit, I think that's a great situation. Obviously, they have a really talented young offense, good young offensive line, but they could keep Jared Goff another season, develop Jefferson, and then move on from Goff. They could trade him to a quarterback-needy team, or just let him go, and they don't have any dead cap money from his contract. So they're in a really good position there in terms of they can retain Goff, trade Goff, or let him go without penalty. So I think the Lions, though, long term, while Goff could maybe be a Kirk Cousins caliber quarterback, this Detroit regime has higher goals than that. They don't want to just settle for a mid-tier quarterback. I think they're going to go at some point and make a move to really get a new franchise quarterback and a guy that they think can be a difference maker and a championship caliber quarterback. 26th overall, I have the Bills taking Cedric Tillman, wide receiver from Tennessee. And I think the Bills, they're just in such a great position. They have such a loaded roster. They can take best player available. Obviously, they have a great receiver in Stephon Diggs. Gabe Davis has come along as a solid number 2. But it's good to have depth. You don't want to run Diggs into the ground. He is going to be each year, that's wear and tear. You want to keep him fresh for the season. So I think it makes sense to build up that depth. And you can never have enough weapons for a quarterback like Josh Allen. So I think that would make sense for Buffalo when they're in that kind of picking best player available late in the first round. 27th overall, I have Cincinnati taking Keely Ringo, cornerback from Georgia. They could use more cornerback help. I think Ringo's a good scheme fit for them. 28th overall, I have the Packers taking Zion Nelson, left tackle from Miami. They could slide him inside to guard, put him at right tackle. They could move him around. He's versatile in terms of his athleticism, solid football player. I think they could use some youth on that offensive line. They always seem to have injuries up front. And if David Bakhtiari continues to get hurt, well, now you have a natural left tackle there to fill in for him. 29th overall, I have Kansas City taking Nolan Smith, edge rusher from Georgia. Give them a guy to go across from George Karlaftis. We'll see how long they hold on to Frank Clark, but they could have him another year or two, bring Smith along, and then eventually you have the replacement. 30th overall, I have the Chargers taking Anton Harrison, left tackle from Oklahoma. I think the Chargers put him at right tackle. Now you have bookends with Rashawn Slater. You got Zion Johnson on the inside. You got to protect Justin Herbert. So I think this pick would make sense for Los Angeles. 31st overall, I have the Bucs taking Dante Demas, wide receiver from Maryland. Obviously, Julio Jones is not a long-term player at this point of his career. You got to consider age with Mike Evans and wear and tear as well with him. Chris Godwin's been banged up, so I think it would make sense for the Bucs to get some more young receiving talent behind, those guys, Godwin and Evans. All right, let's get to the teams that don't have first-round picks. 39th overall, I have the 49ers taking Brandon Joseph, cornerback from, safety. I was about to say cornerback from Northwestern because he played some cornerback at Northwestern as a freshman when he had a fabulous season. He rotated there because of injury, but he's a safety. Really dynamic ball skills he showed at Northwestern. Excited to see what he does over the course of this season at Notre Dame. But I think San Francisco could use some youth at safety, and he'd be a good fit for them scheme-wise. 50th overall, I have the Saints taking Jared Verse, edge rusher from Florida State. Saints pass rush has been very disappointing this year. They have a good defense, but they have not been getting after the quarterback as well as expected. Obviously, they have a lot of picks up front there, but those guys have not been getting after the quarterback the way they drafted them to. Cam Jordan is still the guy that makes it all go for them. They could use more help across from Cam Jordan. Jared Verse has a good skill set, upside, plays really hard, great motor, just raw, needs development, and that's understandable going from Albany and transferring into Florida State. That's a big jump, but he made that jump. I think he's a really long-term view, could turn into a really good pro out of a second-round pick. 52nd overall, I have the Browns taking Dontavian Wicks, wide receiver from Virginia. Give them another weapon for Deshaun Watson, go across from Amari Cooper. Wicks was incredible in 2021, averaged 20 yards a catch. So I think that speed across from Cooper would be a great fit there in Cleveland. 57th overall, I have the Rams taking B.J. Ojulari, edge rusher from LSU. Give them a replacement for Von Miller. I think they could use more pass rush to go with Leonard Floyd and Aaron Donald as age gets to be a factor with Donald as well. You want to keep them fresh, rotate them, have them ready for the postseason. I think adding more edge rush to lighten the load and responsibility on Donald in terms of getting after the quarterback would make sense for the Rams. So that's this week's mock. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Of course, tons of content on Walter Football. Saturdays I'm watching the games behind me and to the side of me. I have another TV doing recaps just focused on how the draft picks played in the best matchups of the week. Not looking at who's winning the game and all that stuff. We're just focused on the draft players. How did they do in this game? Is this tape going to help them with scouts, or is it going to hurt them, or is it kind of somewhere in the middle? So that happens Saturdays. Of course, Monday morning, have Monday morning draft. We have position rankings getting updated every week. We have a preview that goes up Thursday for the college games. I lay out the players, their number, who to watch, and the best games which matchups are most intriguing from the NFL draft point of view, what channel you can find it on time, all that stuff. Got it all there for you guys. And of course, Walt's mock gets updated every Wednesday. Mine's updated every Friday. And I got rumors going up in the hot press every week as well. And Walt's picks have been tremendous. Took home over $2,000 in the first 2 weeks of the season, so congrats, Walt. Great job there. But that's this week's video, so go to Walter Football, check it out. Please like and share the video and subscribe. Help us out with all that. But I really appreciate you guys. Love all of you. Be safe. I'll be back with you soon. Take care.